Alright, so I've gotten a little bit of progress done with the ceiling. I've taken some 1x2s, I think it is, and made some support sort of beams that are going to hold the cedar planks on, and so far so good. I don't really have the right screws, so I'm just kind of putting these screws in kind of halfway, and I'll come back and take each of them out and put in something like a brass screw or a painted screw, but these are too long anyway, so I need to get 1-inch screws. And I'm gonna see how far I can go. I think I'm gonna be able to go to about like right here with 2 packs of these cedar planks. I've got my desk situation set up how I really like it, and I've taken my mattress out. This is just the floor. That's a wool blanket, and I'm happy with this, the way that this is going. I'm gonna get to work and put the rest of them on. This is all I had enough wood to do, and that's all I'm gonna have done for now until I feel like shelling out another $27 for another, how many pieces do you get? 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 pieces of wood for 6 tiny thin pieces of wood for $27. Pretty much the way it's gonna be. First week of van life. Last night I slept in here. I'm still at home, and this is my first week of van life, and I've noticed a few things that I'm having to go through in order to adjust. Just the quick where I'm at right now. I slept in here last night in the hammock, okay, and I slept great. I loved it. At this point, I'm just now putting things in my van like water, my guitar, my electronics, bringing in USB cables, personal items that I use for comfort, productivity, and just to keep things running a little bit. One of the things I noticed that I need to do more of is drink more water, because it's warmer in the van than it is in my air-conditioned place. So my body's adjusting to the warmer stuff, which I'm used to doing because I've lived on sailboats in Florida throughout the whole summer with no air conditioning before. Now I don't like the way it feels to be hot. Drinking more water helps that too. Helps it not to feel so hot. But there comes a point where you have to accept it and stop resisting it. You gotta make sure you're drinking enough water. Kind of a weird thing, but I remember a sailor once told me, and when you're sailing in hot weather, keep peeing. And I was like, that's silly. You're gonna, what are you trying to say? You're gonna pee out all of your moisture. Well, no, it means if you're not peeing, you're not drinking enough water. So you want to keep peeing to a certain degree. And if you're drinking coffee and tea like we do a lot of on boats and in vans now, then you need to also make sure that you've got enough fluids staying in your system. It's going to help your brain work better, give you a better attitude, help you to perform better. Another thing that is important is when you're in a van or in a boat, same thing, you need some kind of friends. You need someone that you can take care of. You can care about a plant. How well is it doing? It also helps you to use your social parameters of your brain, so that's healthy. They're in there, you have to use them, or else you'll go crazy. And that's what being social is taking care of each other. It shouldn't be anything different than that. So now I'm asking myself, what do I need to move completely out of my apartment and into the van? So what would I need in order to fully move into the van? Well, a big part of being in a van, or a boat for that matter, is being somewhere comfortable where it's not too hot and not too cold. because we have such limited air conditioning and heating in a van. It's easier to heat a van than it is to cool it off, but at the same time, you don't want to use a bunch of fuel to heat all the time anyway. And it's better to have to be in a place that's nice to step outside of the van and it's comfortable. So in a boat, you have even more limitations because you're stuck kind of in the water, and there's not a lot of directional options that you have, and boats go really slow. But in a van, you can take a couple days and drive to a completely different climate. So I'm not really moved into the van yet, but one of the things that I got that was really important is I spent $100 on 4 Plano totes, which I'll talk about more later in another video. And those have given me a really nice, tidy way to keep everything organized and out of sight and out of the way. Plus, these Plano totes are strong and multi-purpose. You can sit on them, you can store them, you can stack them, and they won't slide around. And you can bungee them together and just different things. They're very durable. They're not going to break, and they're also nice looking, and they're uniform looking. So all of my major storage are these green Plano totes. In fact, I use one for all of my electronic components that have to do with the solar charging and all that stuff. My LiFePO battery, my 1000 watt sine wave inverter, and as well as my refrigerator, compressor refrigerator. And of course, charging all of my computers and cameras and lights, etc., etc. So one major thing that I did today as I'm moving back into the van is I brought my water system in, which is just a jug with an electric water pump on top. I don't have a permanent place that I put it, but it's now in the van, and that process of integrating my water system has begun. Another major aspect of the transition from an apartment into a van, or a house into a van, or whatever, is energy usage. So I'm having to standardize my way of using and understanding energy. For example, I have to decide how long am I going to give myself to run some various appliances, such as heating water and cooking with electricity, which I never thought I would do before until I found basically more efficient ways of doing it. So I need to know how many amp hours I'm using for every 5 minutes of using like a electric kettle or something like that. So I might allow myself 5 minutes per meal and allow myself 1 hot meal a day, or while the kettle or cooker is hot, use that latent energy and go ahead and cook my next meal and save it for later and put it away. So there's different ways of managing energy, just as there's different ways of managing your water and the way that you wash dishes using spray bottle. So the water as well as your energy are kind of go hand in hand as far as with the same types of character traits that you have to develop and habits that you have to develop around conservation of energy and resources. So another really cool subject is how and when to recharge the batteries and get that sun on the solar panels. You may be fortunate enough to have a long solar wire for moving your solar panels into the sun while your van stays in the shade. It's going to be more comfortable for you inside your van if you stay in the shade, especially during the hottest times of the day, like noon until sunset. So here's a really interesting thought that I had of how to harvest solar without getting hot, and that's to park the van in the sun during the morning hours, and even better, be able to tilt your solar panel or hang one on the side of your van and start harvesting that sun immediately when the sun comes up. And then that means you will top your batteries off if you have a modern charging system by noon. And then you want to get out of the sun. So that's the time you want to be in the sun, is in the morning hours when it's still cool enough to sit in the sun and charge those panels. Because it only gets hotter throughout the day until the sun finally goes down, and then it takes a few hours to cool down once the sun goes down. So if you can park on the southeast side of a big tree or building, then that means you're going to get that morning sun, and by the time the sun gets up towards noon or 1 or 2, you're going to be in the shade for the rest of the day, which is ideal. So another very important point is getting out of the van and having a routine where you're not just sitting in the van all day. Even if you have a very productive office space in the van and you are a digital nomad, you have to get out of the van and go do things that are comfortable for you to do, that aren't in places where maybe the weather is bad, etc., or you don't feel comfortable because of the people that are around. So you want to get out and go to some kind of idyllic outdoor experience, probably every day, and get your legs moving and walk around and things like that. And see some things and get some scenery moving past your eyes. This is really calming and good for the psyche. The other aspect of getting out of the van is being social. If there's a place that you can go and talk to 1 or 2 people throughout the day, maybe in the morning, going out and getting coffee when other people are also being social, that's going to really boost your morale, make you feel safer, make you feel more in place. You're going to feel good. And don't forget to talk to your plant pets, water them, take them outside for a walk in a baby carriage.